us apart. A champion smart. You be humble with times getting hard. Got a mentor to help him get sharp.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another Born to Win podcast. That's right. I'm Vondale Singleton, founder of the C.H.A.M.P.S mentoring program. C.H.A.M.P.S stands for culturally helping and making positive success. And our motto is what? We believe you're born to win in every situation in life. 3 E's: education, empowerment, and exposure. And so today I'm really excited for a sit down. Throughout the pandemic, we've been going virtual. We've been doing video as well as audio podcasts, various different voices. And so we actually did an audio podcast, but since my brother flew all the way with his wonderful wife to Chicago from the Houston area, we decided to do in person. So again, I want to welcome everybody to the Born to Win podcast. And I want to introduce my brother from over 20 years, Oral Roberts University, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Rashad Sanders. Welcome to the Born to Win podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. So glad to be here, man. So glad to be here. This is
Let's
exciting.
go. Let's get it. Let's good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, man, why you here in Chicago, bro?
Why am I here, man? I am here because my wife and I believe in legacy. We believe in legacy, and we are in agreement to establish our legacy, not just for ourselves, but for our children's children. So we flew up here to the C.H.A.M.P.S to meet with a realtor. And we've been riding around the South Side all day yesterday.
South Side or no side?
South Side or no side. People say there's nothing good happening on the South Side of Chicago. But I'm here to tell you there are a lot of good things happening on the South Side of Chicago.
Talk that talk. Yes, sir.
And we came here because we want to be a part of what's happening in this city. And so we were looking at some properties. We are looking to invest.
Yes, sir.
And again, we're about...
Notice the word, invest.
Invest. We're looking to invest to create a legacy of wealth that will continue past our lifetime, brother. So that's why we are here. And you know, I can't come to the C.H.A.M.P.S without coming to see my boy Vondale. So I'm here.
Yes, sir.
With you. Excited to be on this podcast with you live, man. So, and my beautiful wife is here with me, and she's all in.
All in, baby. All in. Yes, yes.
So, yeah, man, that's why I'm here, man. We're taking a leap of faith, taking some risk, and scared money don't make money.
I know that's right. And shout out to the 9 to 5 millionaire. You heard him on the podcast number 2. If you haven't watched it, go check it out. Jamal King, one of our C.H.A.M.P.S board members, and my Chicago brother. So again, man, you know, we welcome you guys here.
Thank you.
In the city of Chicago. We just embarked upon some Harold's.
Yes, sir.
And, so we went out to 75th, picked up some Harold's chicken. You know what I'm saying? We had to get it in. You can't come to Chicago without get Giordano's, Harold's, or some Garrett's popcorn at least.
You're right about that.
One of those 3.
I don't know. I can't do all 3 of them.
You know what I'm saying?
At the same time. Last time I was here, it was Giordano's on the way to the airport. So we ate that in the car. I'm not really into Garrett's popcorn. It's great, but it's not something I have to have when I come to Chicago. So I knew I wanted to get some Harold's this time around.
That's
I didn't get any last time, but it was fire as usual.
So I want to kick this thing off and let everybody know that with the start of the school year, there's a lot happening right now. And as educators and as advocates in the community, we believe it's really important for people to understand that we all have a role to play. We all have a part to play. And I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Canon. Thank you so much for sending us these cameras so we can do a show like our Born to Win podcast, and also do some filming, some pre-recorded filming for our virtual classes. In the Chicago area, we start Tuesday. And again, you know, it's a great thing when we're able to plan out and structure out how we want our curriculum to look, how we want our curriculum to feel. I believe presentation on what you are delivering in terms of your content can make or break the engagement level of students. So once a student log into the C.H.A.M.P.S class, right? We want them to not only come back, we want them to tell somebody, right? I want kids sneaking into class, and saying like, man, what they doing in Champs is incredible. And my brother right here, Rashad, just led a phenomenal session that we're going to get into. We get a little bit into his story, and he'll talk about his life. But, for him to come into this space and to film and to record a very high-level session, right, around areas of social-emotional learning, mental health, and mindfulness is really being aware, which is that first competency that we talk about, self-awareness, being aware of self. So, man, thank you for filming that. Thank you for adding your voice. And it was just really powerful to watch it and just being conscious of how the body and mind should be in concert. Can you just tell everybody what the lesson was about and just a little bit more about who you are, what you do, your vision, and just anything you want to share?
First, I'll start off with who I am. Rashad Sanders. I was born in Atlanta, Georgia. ATL. I did not grow up there. My parents were both in the military. So after I was born, we hopped on a plane and flew across the world to Germany. So I spent the first 3 years of my life in Germany. My dad did 20 years, so there was a lot of traveling. Every 2 or 3 years, we moved. So the first 6 years of my life, a lot of that was overseas in Europe. So being exposed to other cultures, the exposure, that's part of the Champs.
That's part of the Champs.
And I was able to get that at a very early age. And I feel like the exposure that I had allowed me to see the world differently, to know how to navigate as the only black man in particular settings, being in another country, and not knowing about my own culture as a black man because of the military surrounding. It was so centered around who you were with in that particular Army base. So for the first 12 years of my life, we moved around every 2 or 3 years. So I never really got a chance to spend time with my grandparents, my cousins, because we were always gone. So all they knew was the Sanders are somewhere. We don't know where. We don't know where we're going to see them. But they somewhere. So that was my upbringing, Army brat, very disciplined, very structured and routine. That's what my life was. I'm talking about making the bed, tucking the sheets and the blanket under the mattress. So when my dad walked in to do his inspection, he could take his hand across the bed and it wouldn't move. Let Sergeant Sanders come in the room and the bed not made right. It's a problem.
It's a major problem.
Yeah, major problem. So after moving around, my dad retired, and we moved to Louisville, Kentucky in 1992. So I went to high school in Louisville, Kentucky, and was eager to leave as soon as we got there because I was so used to moving every 2 or 3 years. So after being there for 3 years, I was like, okay, I had that itch. Like, where are we going? And we weren't going nowhere. My parents had divorced at that point. So I knew I was stuck until after high school. So grew up playing basketball and football and running track. Wanted to go play ball on the collegiate level, had a couple scholarship offers. But because of my upbringing, I wanted to leave. I had full rides to every school in the state of Kentucky.
Wow.
For academics. Had a few basketball scholarship offers from schools in the state, but I didn't want to stay. So I ended up in Tulsa, Oklahoma with you. When I said I wanted to get away, I got all the way away, bro.
Yeah, for real.
Went all the way. Didn't play ball, wanted to, tried to walk on a couple years and slacked on my academics. So there's one thing for those of you listening. If you have a desire to play sports on the college level and don't get a scholarship, you might want to rethink your decision.
And listen, this is really important. And I got to be very, very direct with our listening audience. Everybody's not going to make it to the NBA. I know that's not a surprise to you, but a lot of people think they are going to make it to the NBA, NFL, major leagues. Listen to me. God put you on the earth with a purpose. Maybe your purpose is to have some type of role. And trust me, there are 150 other jobs besides dribbling the basketball. As a matter of fact, you might want to do your research in some of these jobs where the basketball is not involved directly on the court, right? You can manage a team, you can direct, you can be part of the statisticians, you can be behind the cameras, you can be working. So many other opportunities and jobs. But what I see and what I sense in our communities and talking with young people, I ask them, what you want to be when you grow up? Mm-hmm. Man, I want to go to the league.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm not knocking it, but the chances of you making it to the league, and then I ask the second follow-up question, how often do you practice? Oh, man, I usually get to the court at least once a week. That's not enough if you're talking about going to the league, right? So I think we cannot sell you short, and let us be the ones to tell you directly, it is harder than what you think it is. I've met really talented players right here on the south side of Chicago, 10,000 of them, right? That you saw like, oh, man, they probably can make it to the league. And they didn't. It was only one that I knew that made it to the league out of 10,000, right? And so I'm not saying that to detract you from your dreams and your goals. I just want to speak reality to you to let you know that there are other areas that you may be overlooking in terms of your gifting, your talents, your skills, and your abilities that God has given you and blessed you with that you may be ignoring, right? Because you're trying to make it to the league.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to intercept that and interrupt that because I don't know who's watching or listening, but you are more than just the game. And I'm not talking about the sports. I'm talking about life.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely. That's definitely. Because it took me not being able to play on the collegiate level to understand that there was something else that I could offer. And so what I did, I fell in love with the weights. I fell in love with understanding the body and how it works and how it moves and how the body and the mind and the soul all are connected to have success. And no, I never made it to the NBA, never made it to the NFL, never played Major League Baseball, never became a professional tennis player.
Come on, talk.
But because of my skill set as a trainer,
Yes.
I have had the opportunity to work with athletes in all of those arenas. I've had the opportunity to travel the world with a professional tennis player. Like I've been to countries that people wish they could go to. But because of my skill set and my knowledge of the body and how to motivate somebody to perform at the highest level, that has been my way in. And so for those of you that are listening, you may have a gift or a talent that somebody that is a professional athlete can use. Like Vondale said, it may be being behind the scenes, being a manager, being a sports agent. Oftentimes, the agents for these players make more money than the players. Make more money than the players because they understand the legal aspect of it. They understand what the contract says. They get their money up front. The players don't get money up front unless you play baseball. Baseball is the only guaranteed contracts in professional sports. So if you're a baseball player, stick to baseball because you will get paid whether you ever see the field or not. I think about the Bobby Bonilla rule. Remember Bobby Bonilla used to play with Barry Bonds and the Pittsburgh Pirates?
Yep.
This man, on his birthday, every year, he hasn't played in almost 20 years.
Yep.
Every year on his birthday, he get a check, 1.5 mil hits his account. And that's going to happen for the rest of his life.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So listen. Listen to us, guys. We are here as a mentoring program to help guide you, support you, to help you fulfill your dreams and your goals. And along the way, right, there may be a detour in what you feel or what you believe where you supposed to be in that moment, right? Like he had full ride scholarships, not just in sports, but academics as well. He could have went anywhere in the Kentucky area. But God had a different plan for his life. And it landed him in Tulsa, Oklahoma at Oral Roberts University, where we met in the late 90s. And look at him now. He's traveled the world. He's fulfilling his dreams and goals. Now he's back, and I'm going back to a word that he mentioned. If you were listening earlier, he talked about investment. investing. That's why we're starting the entrepreneurship class, okay? Where we're going to teach the principles. And a part of entrepreneurship is not just the business transactions, it's mindset, right? So we got to take you back to the foundation of what your why is. Why are you doing what you're doing? Is it because you're being influenced by, maybe a family member that you look up to and you see them doing life, right? And you're motivated by that. And so you want to be like them. Like my uncle used to drive trucks. He still do to this day. And so I said, I'll be a truck driver, right? Because I saw my uncle doing it and he was making pretty good money. He's from Chicago. I didn't see him running around with the gangs here. But that wasn't God's plan for my life, right? And I admire, again, anything that you want to do, but we want to make sure you get into the flow of who you have been created and designed to become on earth. And that may not be what you think it is.
Right.
And so that's why we need mentoring programs and brothers that's adding value from different expertise and different voices. So I got a question that I wanted to just kind of ask, going back to your family of origin and your childhood, because I think it's a very important conversation. You mentioned that your father was very disciplined and structured man.
Yeah.
And how did that impact you in your earlier years, and what lessons do you still kind of see as a result of that structure?
Early on, I hated it. I hated the structure. I hated the discipline. I hated the chores. I didn't understand why it was necessary, why everything had to be so regimented. I didn't get it, right? But I did it because my dad was my hero. That's who I looked up to. And so when he said do something, reluctantly or not, I made it happen. Then as I got older, I realized that what he instilled in me was to set me up for success later. Because everything I do now is routine, is regimented, and I can adjust and adapt easily, which the pandemic has caused me to do. Like my daily schedule, it has changed, but I still have a daily schedule. I still wake up at a certain time. I still go through my morning routine of meditation, of spending time in the Word, spending time praying, spending time going over my affirmations, building myself up to get me ready for the day. That stuff started when I was 6, 7 years old. With the things he had me do is in routine, on top of my mom, who's a minister, who instilled the Word of God in me. Like, I couldn't play Nintendo until I recited Psalms 23. I couldn't go outside to play ball unless I recited the 91st Psalms from start to finish. so the routine came on both sides of it, from a natural and a spiritual standpoint. I got it from both of them. And it was hard growing up. There's a lot of things I was not exposed to, a lot of things I couldn't do because of the way I was raised. But as I've gotten older, and my wife and I don't have children yet, but I'm excited to be able to raise my children with a world view of adding the spiritual to the natural to have success, understanding how to be mentally strong first, knowing that trials and tribulations, they are going to come.
That's right.
It's a given.
That's right.
But if you're mentally strong, you can handle whatever comes at you. It doesn't matter. You don't let your emotions get the best of you because you know how to handle them. You have them, but you're aware of that. You're aware that you have these emotions, and you're aware of things that make you angry. You're aware of things that get you off course. But when you're aware of that, you're self-aware of that, you can make the adjustment and not do things that you wish you wouldn't have done.
Yeah, and we talked about this. Remember, we talked about managing emotions, right? Managing emotions. These emotions are natural, right? They have been given to us by God, right? But it's up to us to manage them, because on the other side of these emotions could be a decision or a choice that you and I make that can cost, right, us losing our life, getting locked up, something bad happening, right? Because we don't have the education or the skills necessary to be able to identify, number one, when I'm angry and what are my triggers that caused me to move into a dimension that is quote unquote out of my character.
Yeah.
Right? And now you in the principal's office and they ready to kick you out of school because you did something. And trust me, I've been on the side of that as an administrator where I'm like, man, that's a good kid. What'd he do? And they giving me the report. Well, girl got in his face. He wasn't having, the best of day, whatever he came in with that emotional energy, it kind of carried over. And she said something to him. He said, I don't feel like playing today. She got back in his face. And then next thing you know, he hauled off and knocked her out.
Yeah.
And so now I'm dealing with the practicality of the situation, taking in all elements. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, on the back end of that, it was a mismanagement of emotions that caused this young man to use physical aggression to handle a situation based off a choice that he made, right? Because somebody triggers, right? And so I want to talk to Shadi about some triggers that you have probably had to deal with throughout maybe your youth or your teenage years that you say, you know what, I have to check this area. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that to help some brother out who may be right where you are right now?
Yeah, so a lot of my triggers started during my childhood. Like I said, we grew up in the military, but my dad was an alcoholic. And so those triggers started early because he could not control his addiction to alcohol, and it resulted in physical and verbal abuse towards my mom. It was never towards my sister or I. It was always towards my mom. And so if you can imagine, as a 7, 8-year-old kid, your mom is sleeping in the bed with you because she doesn't want to be in her own bed when her husband comes home because she doesn't know how he's going to respond because he always came in drunk. And so he would come in, go to his room looking for his wife and not see her. So he come knock my door down and drag my mom out the bed, and I'm a help. I can't do nothing. There was nothing I could do at that age. Like, it hurt not to be able to rescue or be my mom's savior in that moment. And I know that there are some of you that might be watching or listening that have experienced harm being done to your mother and you not able to do anything. And so I grew up with a lot of hatred and bitterness towards my dad because he had so much respect from the other soldiers that reported to him, but had no respect from his wife at home. And you can't act one way out in the streets and then act totally different at home and not think the home life is going to be impacted. It not only impacted my mother, it impacted me, it impacted my sister. So I went years with this hatred, with this bitterness, knowing one day I'm going to get him back. So that's how I grew up. One day I'm going to pay him back for everything he did. Other things I experienced because of his addiction, coming home from school, looking forward to playing Super Mario on Nintendo, in my room with my own TV, my TV gone, my Nintendo gone, all my games gone, the VCR gone. I'm like, Mom, what happened? She's like, you got to talk to your dad about that. I'm like, Dad, where my stuff at? This man has sold all my stuff to go buy more liquor.
So it got that bad.
It was that bad.
To where he was taking out the house. Now, I've been a part of the situation with my mom on the drugs and stuff like that. So I know it can get to an element where, they still have a heart, but the addiction is so powerfully strong that it's causing them to do things that make you question the relationship that you have with them. Right. So it got to the point where your father sold these things.
Yes, he was selling things to go buy more. Seagram's gin was his drink of choice. And it's like, what can you do? Couldn't do nothing. I remember one time I was upset and I said something crazy to him. That man hit me in my chest so hard. I would put a hole in the wall, fell back hit the wall so hard, right? And then he thought about it after it happened. He felt so bad. He was like, I'm going to let you hit me back. I'm going to let you hit me back. All right. I was like, okay. So I hit him. He was drunk. Told me I could hit him. I hit him. His automatic response was the reflex. He hit me straight back.
Oh, wow. After he told you to hit him back.
Bruh. When you're dealing with a parent or a loved one that is struggling with some type of substance abuse, You cannot take what they say literally because oftentimes they are talking in a manner that is not themselves. And I tried to play on my dad's words, not knowing at that age that this man on there, he has no
And
idea
how old
what
were
he's
you at
talking.
that time, Shotty?
It was 7.
Okay.
7 years old, 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old. This
Okay.
is what I saw, like from when I can remember to the time they got a divorce. He was always drunk. After they got a divorce, I go to his house to spend the night on the weekends. He passed out. We'd hang out. He come on. He passed out on the floor. Like we go out, we do stuff, but wherever we was going, wherever he was taking me, he's having drinks. You know, he take me to the arcade, give me money to go to the arcade. I'm playing video games, Mortal Kombat or whatever the game was at that time, and he having drinks. But I'm telling you, he was functional, was able to get us back to the house. But he get back to the house, he done, passed out. There is no conversation going on.
Yeah.
All right, so I would have conversations while he was in his sleep, drunk. He used to talk in his sleep.
Wow.
So we would have full conversations, right? Me thinking, knowing he don't know nothing I'm saying, bro. I would play with him. It wasn't cool, but at the time it was entertainment.
Okay. So he wasn't coherent, but you like,
man, he
yeah,
wasn't
let me.
coherent.
Yeah, that's interesting, and I want to say something because it's very important. And as you guys are getting ready to go back to school, and we in this virtual world, we're going to start our meetings on September 26th. September 26th, we starting our first C.H.A.M.P.S in-person social distancing. We have masks for you. We're going to make sure that we do temperature checks, so on and so forth. We're going to put you in pods. But there are a lot of things that you want to talk about that you haven't been able to talk about in terms of some household situations. I can't say the name, but I got a message last night from a young man that says, Singleton, I've been away from C.H.A.M.P.S since the pandemic. And the reason why I've been away is because I'm dealing with some family issues. I didn't go into detail and start asking him what's going on with the family, but he did say that he was going to be back in next week, and we'd kind of get caught up then. But I just want everybody to know that the whole purpose of us talking about these things and disclosing a lot of this information is because we've gone through experiences that some of you are going through, and some of you may feel like you're alone, that no one understands, you don't have anyone to talk to. But we need for you to talk. We need for you to open up. We need for you to trust us, because we wouldn't be in the position that we're in, right, wanting to give back and help if we didn't care.
Yeah.
So I wanted to pause and let you know that we're not just talking just to be talking, but we talking to express that we identify with some of you all who may be going through a similar situation in your household, and you may be too young to even know, right? Yeah. But I think something was happening. Did you begin to get distant from your father over time? Yeah. And what do you think was the cause? It was just his inability to understand that he had a problem and admitting it, or reconciling the fact that he had a son that was growing that needed him?
It was a combination of all of that, Vondale. He never acknowledged that he had a problem. Never acknowledged that he had a problem because he felt like he can control it. You know, he was still able to work. He was still able to make money. And so to him, it's my money. I do whatever I want to do with it. If I want to go buy 3 6-packs of beer and some liquor, that's what I can do. This is my money. And so we were distant. We got distant, especially as I got into high school basketball. He'd come to the games drunk, you know, talking crazy to the coach if the coach took me out, not realizing that his actions were impacting me seeing time on the court. And so I would have to make eye contact with other male teachers that were at the games to have them come remove my dad from behind the bench, like that kind of stuff. So the wedge between us, it kept growing, it kept growing, it kept growing. And my outlet was the mentors that I had in my life. And so I wanted to let you all know, you have to talk to somebody about the stuff you are experiencing or the things that you have seen or been exposed to in your life. Because if you do not talk about it, it's going to eat you up. And so I had mentors that I could share things with no judgment. Like, they never judged my dad. They didn't judge the situation. They were just a listening ear. So to be able to talk that out was great. But it was still a wedge between my dad and I. And when I went to college, my whole freshman year of college, we didn't talk because he was upset that I gave up full scholarships to go somewhere where I had to pay. And my response to him was, I'm not going to use all the words that I used to him, but I said, if you hadn't drank all my college tuition, I might have had some other choices. So you can't say nothing to me unless you're going to give me some money to come back home and go somewhere else. There's nothing to say.
And what was his response?
He had no response, Vondale. He couldn't say nothing.
Yeah.
Because at that point, he knew he was, he couldn't say nothing.
Put it back in his court.
Put it back in his court, man. Put it back in his court. But college was challenging, man. I was angry. That's why I spent so much time in the gym. That's why I was determined to make the ORU's basketball team, because I wanted to prove to him that I don't need you to be who God created me to be. I'm going to make it happen. And that I had outward expression of the anger and bitterness that I had when I played intramural basketball, when I played intramural football, or if I got into a confrontation with somebody on campus. Like there's several times where I'd hem somebody up in the hallway just because they said something to me that kind of triggered something that my dad used to say to me, right? And then it all came to a tilt one year. It was New Year's Eve, 2001. And was home. I had broken my nose playing ball a couple weeks before coming home for Christmas break. Luke Spencer Gardner, never forget.
Luke Spencer.
Broke my nose as I was going up for a rebound, right? So I didn't have the surgery at school. My mom said, let's wait till you get home. So that whole last finals week with a broken nose. I get home, I have the surgery, and then my dad's like, hey, come over for our annual New Year's Eve dinner. I said, okay, let's go. I came over, and he was having one of them little moments. He was introducing me to his new fiance because he was going to get remarried. And we had some words in relation to school, and I was done. I was already up here with him and kind of said some choice words to him, and we fought. And I never forget, Vondale, my dad grabbed my shirt, and he was about to hit me in my nose. Mind you, I had just had surgery. I actually had surgery on my nose. So it was still swollen, wasn't healed, and I knew if he had hit me in my nose that day, no telling what could have happened.
Right.
And he's rearing back. And then he looks back at his hand because it wouldn't move. Like he's trying to swing his hand and it wouldn't move. And so he literally looked back at his hand, and at that moment, I saw that as my opportunity. Pop, pop! I hit him twice in the face. He falls down. It was over after that. It was over after that. Like, I grabbed my keys, ran out of his house, drove home, fell in my mom's arms, crying like a baby.
Wow.
Crying like a baby. She was like, what happened? She was like, I don't know what happened, but your dad had already called talking about you need to come back and finish so y'all can finish what y'all started. She was like, what happened?
Oh, man.
But Vondale, when I tell you, as bad as I felt that day,
Yeah.
it felt like the weight of the world came off my shoulders that day. Because when I hit him those 2 times, it reminded me of when I was 7, when I was 8, when he was dragging my mom out of my bed and beating her and throwing her around the house, and I couldn't do anything to help. Those 2 punches, all of that came out. Him selling off my game systems to drink, spending my college tuition to drink. All of that anger and aggression came out on that day. And as bad as it hurt, that started the healing process for me and my dad. I don't recommend you act in that manner towards the father figure or the dad in your life if he has caused you or your family, your mom, your siblings some type of harm. It doesn't have to go that way. I wasn't able to control my emotions like I can now. But in that moment, it was necessary. And my dad lived another 5 years after that. After that moment. And we were like 2 peas in a pod.
Wow.
Like we were best friends. Like anytime I'd come home, we'd go bowling together. Like we were doing all this stuff together that I wish we had done when I was younger. But he couldn't he couldn't do it. because he had no control over his addiction. But because he was sick, he couldn't drink. He couldn't drink like he used to. So it drew us closer. And I miss him every single day, especially as I've gotten older.
Sure.
Being 10 years married and working on kids and expanding my legacy with creating investment properties and learning the stock market, all the stuff I wish I could talk to my dad about.
Yeah.
Educate him on. Like, I don't have that.
Yeah.
And that hurts me today that I don't have that. I don't have him to talk to anymore, because as many mentors that I have and continue to talk to, there is nothing like talking to your dad, regardless of how you feel about that man or what he has done. The one thing a young boy grows up wanting to hear his father say, man, I'm proud of you.
Proud of you. That's right.
Those 3 words right there make a little boy run through a wall.
That's right.
If he hears his dad say that.
Yeah.
And especially if you're doing something that is meaningful, you're giving back to community, you're a contributing person to society, to hear your dad tell you, son, I am proud of you, you will continue to do whatever you need to do to keep hearing those words. So if you don't have your dad around, again, take advantage of the mentors that are in the C.H.A.M.P.S program. That's what they're there for. They will tell you how proud of you that they are when you're doing something good. And then when you grow up, find somebody that you can mentor, not just your own children. Vondale has children, but all of you all are his children as well. Man, he's proud of you. He's going to let you know that he's proud of you.
I'm proud of you every single day. You know, when I wake up, God allows me to walk into a new day. And even when I go to bed at night, I carry the burden. And it's a good burden. It's a light burden, because it's a burden that God has blessed me with. And my hearts are knitted to the city and to the youth, to the voices, to black and brown young men that are in Chicago in particular, but across this world. And I always said, wherever there's an urban area, there needs to be a C.H.A.M.P.S program, period. Why? Is because our core value, brotherhood and consistency, are the things that offset the inconsistency and the gang mentality that we have saw coming up through these streets of Chicago. We know what you guys are facing. We know what you're dealing with every single day. That's why we have this program here. And there's no program like this program anywhere in America, right? What we're doing in the core of the city of Chicago. And listen to me when I tell you, I don't care what Pookie, what Tyrone told you. I don't care what the GDs, the BDs, the Vice Lords, the Errol Rookins. I don't care how they've been trying to recruit you. You know you got a home here. You know you love. You know you can be yourself. We bring in 22 neighborhoods every Saturday across this city. And these are neighborhoods that every night you turn on the news that you see a black or brown face on both sides of the gun, either getting shot or shooting. And you know what we're doing in this city. So we love you guys. We want you to know that we want you to continue to be a part, because here's why. The mentee becomes the mentor. You now carry the baton and the responsibility to pay it forward to the next generation of young men that are coming up. You have that responsibility, and it is a great weight. It is a great burden, right? I know people with millions and billions of dollars, they not peaceful in their home. Why? It's because they have not found their purpose. Money don't buy you happiness. Money don't make you happy. It's in the space of giving back. Right? You have a more responsibility to do that in whatever way that you feel like you need to contribute on this earth. Why? Is because you are fearless, you are proud, you are independent. And we want to make sure that we providing the tools that are necessary to keep you guys in the flow of giving back and reaching back and paying it forward. Yeah. That's what this is all about. Right? We can be anywhere in the world. He can be making millions and billions of dollars doing all kinds of different things. He chose to give back as an educator. He chose to give back to his community. He's choosing to invest and not only help someone else, but leave a legacy for his children's children. And that's what we are talking about today. So I got my brother here all the way from Houston, Oral Roberts University. What year did you graduate?
2003.
2003. That's right, 2003. And that was, man, it's 2020. That was 17 years ago.
Yeah.
Seemed like yesterday.
Right.
And so the unbelievable journey that he's been on, God isn't finished. He's just getting started. But we want to invite all those that will let him come. We don't cast out any brother. I don't care if you got an ability, a disability, if you're a diverse learner. We bring it all of them in and saying, hey, come feast with us. Why? Is because a master can learn from a student. Mm-hmm. And that's why we co-experts. Why? It's because we teach each other. I learn from y'all just as much as you learn from me. And that's what this is about. So I want you, man, to just drop some nuggets on us. Let's talk about anything that you want to share that you feel will be impactful for the listener. Any stories you want to tell. I'm going to just leave you the last couple minutes, and, man, we'll wrap this thing.
First of all, let me talk about the session that we did earlier today. So mindfulness, or the practice of mindfulness, is simply being aware of the moment and being aware of how you feel in that moment. So the last several years, I've been on a quest for mindfulness, not only understanding myself better, but understanding every arena that my gift allows me to navigate in. Yeah. Knowing how to adapt and how to adjust and how to speak in a way where people understand and get what I'm saying. Yeah. Why I'm on this mindfulness quest is because growing up, never saw people that look like me practicing mindfulness, practicing yoga. It was always football, basketball, baseball, whatever you can do to get out, to make quick money and take care of your family. But mindfulness is about self-awareness.
Yes.
It's about quieting yourself long enough that you can hear from the Creator who he put you on this earth to be.
That's right.
Everybody wants to know what their purpose is. But if you want to know your purpose, you got to talk to the person who created you. But oftentimes when we talk to the person that created us, we don't sit long enough to listen. Right? Oftentimes we don't want to sit long enough because we don't want to hear what he has to say. Right? And a lot of times people think, well, he ain't talking. So you have to ask yourself this. If you don't think the God is talking to you, ask yourself, are you doing the last thing he told you to do? If you are not doing the last thing he told you to do, it's not that he's not talking. You just haven't followed instructions. Come on. So once you follow those instructions, each time you sit with him, he's going to give you more instructions.
That's it.
Right? So that's why I start each day with meditation. I sit by myself in the dark for at least a minimum of 10 minutes, just breathing. And here's why breath is so important. When God created man from the dust of the earth, he formed him and fashioned him, made him in the image of himself, looked at him, and breathed his breath into his nostrils, and he became a living soul,
which is nephesh. Living soul, pneuma, life, breath. Come on, talk, brother.
It's breath. It's when I started to understand the power of breath, I was like, oh, okay. Let me be still and just breathe. Every time we inhale and exhale, we're breathing in life. Every time we exhale, we're exhaling anxiety, exhaling depression, exhaling stress. You have to quiet yourself to move on to what it is you want to do in your life. So that's what I'm on the quest to teach people how to be more mindful, how to sit still long enough, how to focus on your breath, but combining that with movement. I mean, I love the gym. I love the weights, always have. And so when I walk into a class, a yoga class, and I'm the only black or brown person in the room, but everybody is coming to hear what I have to say, I'm like, God, what have you done? Yeah. I would have never thought, especially growing up in a Christian home, that I would be at the front of a studio not seeing anybody that looks like me, but they're coming to hear what I have to say and to hear me take them through some movements that combine breath with their movement, right? Nobody, when people come to a yoga class, they don't come to talk. The only person talking is me. They don't move unless I tell them to move. They don't lift their leg unless Rashad says, lift your leg. They don't raise their arm unless they hear me say, raise their arm. So there's strategy to it. But in the midst of that, I'm dropping nuggets. I'm dropping dimes that I may hope they get something out of. They come into the practice to get something. What it is they're coming to get, I have no idea. But all I know is the energy that is on the inside of me, the spirit that's on the inside of me, if I can breathe that into the atmosphere of who's in the room, they gonna leave changed, bro.
That's right.
They gonna leave changed.
That's right.
And it is hard to sit still. And the reason why, nobody likes to hear what's going on up here. So if you sit long enough, your thoughts are going to be all over the place. So I tell people, when you're starting a mindfulness practice like we started today, when we videoed earlier, being still and just becoming aware of your breath.
Yes.
Because if you sit long enough and become aware of your breath, you'll know where in your body you're experiencing pain, where in your body you're having some type of tension, where in your body where you're not able to move as freely as you want to.
Yeah.
Allow your breath to be the healing for your body. We can heal ourselves. We're in the midst of a pandemic. It's an immune issue. If your immune system is not strong, you're going to be impacted by this pandemic.
That's right.
What you put in your body, what you eat, what you drink, if you sit still long enough, if you sleep long enough, we don't have to ask ourselves to breathe. When we go to bed, we don't have to say, okay, going to sleep, please breathe for me tonight.
Right.
Body, please breathe. You don't have to do that. When you wake up in the morning, you don't have to tell yourself, okay, breathe for the day. You don't have to do that. It happens automatically. But there's power in our breath. It has healing in it. And if you can sit long enough and breathe, you can not only heal your mind, you can heal every other issue that's going on in your body. Because in those moments of stillness, you're going to find out where else you're having issues, right? It's okay to have the thoughts. It's okay to have emotions. In our time of quietness and stillness, you can have a better understanding of what your triggers are, like you said earlier.
That's right.
I know my triggers. I figured that out because I've learned how to sit still long enough. I know what words my wife can say that will trigger me to respond in a certain way. And the blessing of my wife is having her see me change and become more of a mindful husband, right? Where she can say, this happened yesterday. She said something to me, and I just said, okay. I didn't say anything. In the past, I would have responded in a way that I would have said something, and I didn't.
Yeah.
Because I'm more mindful of who she is.
That's right.
And her personality.
That's powerful.
And who she's become. And so this morning, when we woke up, she said, you know what, babe? You're getting better because I said something yesterday, and then usually you would have went off on me.
Yeah.
She said, but you just looked at me, smiled, and didn't say a word. And the rest of the day kept going.
Powerful. That's powerful.
And that's simply because I've become not only aware of who I am, but who my wife is. The students that I interact with as a PE coach, the students that come to my yoga classes, the clients that I train, the athletes that I continue to work with. Because I'm secure in who I am, I can be attentive to their needs a lot better.
That's powerful. That's powerful. And so I want you to be able to kind of just share with everybody, how can they follow you? If you have any social media tags or website, if you can give that to us, and just know that we're going to be inserting the actual session that Rashad led this morning all throughout our curriculum. And so if you can just share with us, how can we follow up with you?
So you can follow me, and this is all going into mindfulness. Body by Shotty has been my tag handle or my name since 1999, since I stepped foot on campus.
That's right.
But as I've grown, about to be 40 years old, I've evolved away from Body by Shotty. You can still put that in and find me on social media. But Mindful Muscle, that's who I've become. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, you can follow me at My Mindful Muscle. You want to follow me on Facebook, just my name, Rashad Sanders. You want to follow me on Twitter, it's Rashad Sanders at Twitter. So my website, you can find it two ways, Body by Shotty or mymindfulmuscle.com.
Thanks, Shotty. We appreciate it, brother.
Born to win, no live. The Champs from Chicago be screaming all that. You are now tuned in to the Born to Win podcast. Champions. Yup, champ. The Champs from Chicago be all in. Champs. Born to win, born to win. The Champs from Chicago be screaming all that. Born to Win podcast. Champions. All in. The Champs from Chicago be getting it in. We promoting the champs, spreading awareness of this mission.